Hey friends, it's Lindsay. I'm filming in my car. So weird. I know, right? This is not normal for me. And actually, I'm not going to move the camera at all because the minivan is, it's not the cleanest space. So I don't really want y'all to see what's surrounding me. But this is a really random impromptu video. I wasn't planning on doing this today, but I am sitting in a parking lot outside of the Chicago History Museum, which is a place that I go to a lot. For one, you guys know I love Chicago, my city, and I love Chicago history. And so the History Museum is a great place to research. They have so many cool exhibits from all kinds of events, and I really would recommend visiting here if you haven't been to the museum and you live in Chicago or the suburbs, or just if you pop into the city to visit sometime. Definitely make time to go. It's really cool. But also they have a lot of nice spaces where I can write, and sometimes when I'm at home, you know, there's stuff going on. I have dogs, the buzzer rings, and maybe packages are being delivered, or I can be writing and I get very unfocused, or I have trouble focusing at home after a while. And so a change of scenery is good. And that's where the History Museum comes in. They have some cool little areas that I can kind of hibernate in and focus for a little while. So that's what I'm doing today. But on my way here, I was thinking, so in the past couple of days, some big things have happened. The cover for SCRITCH SCRATCH has been revealed. If you haven't seen that, go to my Twitter account at Lindsay N. Curry. It is everywhere and it is beautiful. Also, the map for SCRITCH SCRATCH is now out in the world. Just last night, I was able to share that, and it's really, really cool. It's ghostly, it is eerie. It shows all of the stops on the Spirits tour bus. And if you don't know this, the Spirits tour bus is the bus company that my main character's father runs. And it is, of course, appropriately titled Spirits because it's a ghost tour. It visits all the most haunted locations in Chicago. So I'm actually sitting next to one of them right now. I have been on a ghost tour. And on my ghost tour, I was at this stop. It's very eerie and fun. And in the book, my main character's father puts this particular location on his ghost tour as well. So I thought, yeah, it's kind of blizzarding and kind of cold, but I'm right by this spot. Maybe I should give you guys a look at it. So before I get out of the van and completely freeze, I'm going to give you just a little bit of history on what you'll be seeing. I'm waving my parking ticket around at you. You're going to be seeing the Couch Tomb. The Couch Tomb is a grave right here in my neighborhood. No, I'm not in a graveyard and I'm not near a graveyard. That is why this tomb is so strange. It is right kind of in the middle of Lincoln Park. We have the History Museum and Lakeshore Drive and the lake to my east. We have a bunch of residences and just like apartment buildings and houses and a gas station here to my right. And back here is Francis Parker School and Latin schools right up here. So we're not in a location where you would typically just see a random grave, yet there is one. The Couch Tomb is a mausoleum, actually. So these were graves that were big enough to house actually sometimes entire families. And in this case, the Ira Couch family. The city of Chicago doesn't even really know exactly who is in this particular tomb, which makes it more mysterious. And the bigger question is, why is it still here? Well, a long time ago, this whole area wasn't parks and gas stations and schools and buildings and restaurants. It was a graveyard. That's right. The spot where I am sitting right now is the parking lot for the Chicago History Museum, which didn't always used to be a parking lot. This used to be a city cemetery with like 30,000 people buried in it. And at one point in time, the city decided, you know what, we're going to move it. People want to move into this area. They want to live here. They don't want a graveyard here. And although you wouldn't think a whole graveyard can be moved, they slowly but surely started digging people up and moving them to other graveyards that were further on the outskirts of the city back then. One of them being Graceland, which you guys should know from my other book, The Peculiar Incident on Shady Street. So here in this exact spot that now just looks like a normal parking lot, when they built this parking lot, they had to dig to build it. They unearthed some 80 skeletons. 80. Think about that. Isn't that wild? There are still many people buried under the ground here, which makes this whole area very haunted because the city didn't do a good job of getting everyone unearthed and put in a new graveyard. And why did they not do a good job? Because there was a major event that came through Chicago at that time. Something catastrophic happened. Here are some hints. It burned up a lot of the city. It raged for several days. If you're thinking the Great Chicago Fire, you're correct. As the city was in the process of moving people out of this graveyard, the Great Chicago Fire happened and it swept through. It put everything on hold. And not only did it cause a lot of trouble here in Chicago and put people out of their homes, but it destroyed a lot of the graves that were remaining. So you think about these old headstones and them cracking and getting charred and blackened, and some of them just exploded because of the heat. And the city said, we don't really know who's buried there, so we're just gonna kind of give up. No joke. So they kind of left everyone who was still in the ground and they moved on, and the city rebuilt over it. So right here to my left, there's actually some soccer fields where my kids have played both field hockey and soccer. There's parks, there's restaurants, life goes on in the area, but it does remain very haunted. So in a minute, I'm gonna hop out of the car and I'm gonna walk through this blizzard and I'm gonna take you guys over to the Couch Tomb for a really quick peek. And like I said, it's one of the tour stops on Claire's father's spirits bus. And so I want you to get a good look at it and kind of imagine the history and imagine why people think this area is haunted. It really does have a spooky history. Okay, I will be back. I'll probably be covered in snow, but I'll see you in a minute. Okay friends, I'm out of the car and I'm headed toward the tomb. Hope you guys can see it through the snow. It's actually this little building right in front of me. Hold on one second and I'll try to get you guys a little bit closer. It is so snowy. Sorry, I just came from, okay. So, this little, what looks like you could imagine maybe being a storage shed, is actually the Couch Tomb. I'm gonna walk up to it. Oh my goodness, Adidas sneakers were not meant for this kind of snow. Okay, here we go. Here's the sign, by the way. I want you guys to look up Hidden Truths if you have time. So really cool website. Here is the tomb. So we have, there's the History Museum. Lakeshore Drive is over there. Here's the parking lot where I was just at. And then we have the mausoleum. So, as you can see, there's no windows. And the theory about this mausoleum is that it was left here, even though all the other graves were moved, because the city, back in the 1800s, didn't have the money to afford to remove it. I don't know if that's true, but I find it interesting. And trust me, yes, at night, this is quite an eerie location. And what's interesting too is that most people who live here really don't even know what it is. I think a lot of them think it's a storage shed, but so you can see the name Couch right on the top. All right, guys, time for you to start doing some research. Leave me a message and let me know if you think this particular location is actually haunted. See you soon.